Hey everyone, and welcome to another explainer. If you're a focused learner looking to just bypass all the noise and get straight to the core of some pretty complex ideas, well, you're absolutely in the right place. Today we're tackling a massive modern epidemic. We live in a world completely defined by hustle culture, right? We're a society in this state of constant, ongoing striving, where control is basically seen as the ultimate virtue. We micromanage our careers, our relationships, our futures, and honestly, it's leading us straight to burnout and exhaustion. Okay, let's dive into this, because we're going to look at a concept that completely flips this script on its head. Now, it sounds completely counterintuitive, doesn't it? We are conditioned from a very young age to believe that force equals results. Work harder, get more. But what if trying harder is exactly what's holding you back? There is this wild, almost paradoxical truth about life that spans multiple cultures and philosophies. The very moment you stop obsessing over an outcome, it often just naturally finds you. When you get so tired of forcing things and finally just say, you know what, whatever happens, happens, suddenly doors fly open. It's not magic, it's just about how human energy actually works. And the contrast between these two mindsets brilliantly illustrates exactly what we mean. On one hand, we have scarcity energy. This is when you are gripping life way too tightly. It's completely driven by fear. Fear that you aren't enough, or fear that if you take your hands off the wheel for even a second, everything will just collapse. But contrast that with trust energy. This is about yielding, flowing, and literally keeping your palms open. Shifting from a state of desperately needing to a state of calm trusting. That flips the entire game of life. It's the difference between acting out of sheer desperation and acting from a place of quiet, confident alignment. To really lock this concept in, let's think about this fantastic visual metaphor derived from our source material. Imagine trying to catch a flowing river with your bare hands. What happens? The harder you squeeze your fists, the more the water just slips right through your fingers. When we grip our own lives too tightly, our energy stiffens. We literally end up blocking the very things we're trying so hard to draw in, whether that's love, a promotion, or just simple peace of mind. And this idea isn't just some trendy modern psychology hack. It has incredibly deep ancient roots. Let's look at our first cultural pillar, ancient Taoism. They have this concept called Wu Wei, which roughly translates to non-doing or effortless action. Now, let's be clear, this doesn't mean just sitting on the couch and doing absolutely nothing. It means knowing exactly when to act and, absolutely crucially, when not to act. In Taoism, relinquishing control isn't a sign of weakness at all. It's recognized as the ultimate form of sophisticated strength. The legendary sage Lao Tzu captures this dynamic perfectly. He taught that mastery of the world is achieved simply by letting things take their natural course. He actually compared governing a country, or, hey, governing your own life, to frying a really small fish. If you poke it too much, you completely spoil the meat. It just falls apart. When we over-intervene in our relationships or micromanage our goals, we interrupt nature from doing its job, and we end up ruining the final outcome. Let's look at another profound Taoist philosopher, Zhuangzi. He tells this amazing parable of an archer. When the archer is just practicing to win a cheap piece of earthenware, he shoots with perfect, relaxed, effortless skill. But if the prize is a heavy piece of gold, suddenly he shoots as if he were completely blind. Now, his physical skill hasn't changed one bit, but because he is so heavily focused on that external, high-stakes prize, he paralyzes his own ability to perform in the present moment. His total obsession with the future outcome absolutely destroys his current flow. Now, what's really interesting about synthesizing all of this together is how these entirely different metaphors point to the exact same psychological phenomenon. Whether we're talking about squeezing the river, overflipping the fish, or obsessing like the archer, force always creates resistance, but trust creates momentum. So what happens when we do achieve some success, but we stubbornly hold on to that gripping scarcity energy? Well, you get what one of our sources calls the blessed but syndrome. This is when you have the external success, a great job, a beautiful family, big accomplishments, but you're carrying around this paralyzing internal anxiety. You are blessed, but you're terrified of losing it all. To explore this, we're going to pivot to a really fascinating story from evangelical theology, the biblical narrative of Jacob. Let's track his journey and see how this builds a truly profound narrative about control. Jacob's entire life was defined by gripping. Literally. His name actually translates to heel grabber. He tricked his father to steal his older brother Esau's birthright, and then for 20 long years he fled in terror, accumulating massive wealth but living in a state of constant grinding anxiety. Finally, on the very eve of having to face his brother again, he finds himself wrestling in the dark with a divine being. This leads to a massive daybreak realization where he finally has to let go of his lifelong disguise. Right before that epic wrestling match, Jacob's anxiety hits an absolute peak. Just picture this frantic, over-the-top bribe he puts together for his brother. Hundreds of goats, sheep, camels, cows, donkeys. It's a massive zoo. He divides them all up into groups, gives his servants a highly specific script to read, and literally creates backup plans for his backup plans.
It's almost comical how extremely he overplans here, but it's also highly relatable, isn't it? Our modern obsession with micromanaging and planning for every single possible disaster just creates the illusion of safety. It doesn't actually bring us a drop of peace.
Which brings us to the ultimate climax of Jacob's story. He's completely alone in the dark, wrestling with this divine figure, and he practically screams, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." It's the ultimate paradox. Jacob truly thinks he needs to hold on tighter to get what he wants. He's reverting right back to his old heel-grabber tactics. But the narrative beautifully reveals that the divine figure is demanding the exact opposite. Jacob has to let go to truly be blessed. The theological narrative here impartially presents a massive, incredibly deep psychological truth. Jacob spent his entire life hiding behind a disguise, right? Pretending to be Esau, forcing outcomes through trickery and manipulation. But during this intense struggle, he is point-blank asked his name, forcing him to finally admit who he really is. By letting go of the act, he steps into his true identity as Israel. The core lesson here is that you simply cannot receive true peace or real blessings while you're wearing a disguise. You have to drop the control and just step into vulnerability. And the surprise ending to this 20-year buildup of pure anxiety, when Jacob finally meets Esau the next day, bracing for an absolute bloodbath, Esau actually runs to embrace him. Esau just looks at him and says, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." All those complex backup plans, all that insomnia, all those donkeys, it was totally useless. The terrifying, vengeful brother he spent 2 decades anxiously preparing for had already forgiven him. What we have just seen across these sources is absolutely fascinating. We've looked at modern energy psychology, ancient Eastern Taoism, and Western evangelical theology. We are talking about 3 completely distinct cultures and frameworks, separated by thousands of years and miles. Yet, they all independently discovered exactly one universal truth. Life responds beautifully to trust over force, every single time. So the crucial point we need to take away is this: what is truly meant for you isn't fragile. Letting go isn't about passive giving up. It definitely isn't weakness. It is powerfully stepping out of your own way. Listen, if an opportunity or a relationship is truly right for you, it doesn't need you to suffocate it with clenched fists. It just needs you to meet it halfway with open palms and a calm, quiet readiness. Let's distill everything we've learned today into the actionable how-to of letting go. Here are 4 steps to effortless alignment drawn straight from our sources. Number 1, embrace inevitable change instead of frantically clinging to rocks in the river. Number 2, stop paralyzing your present performance by staring obsessively at future outcomes. 3, let go of the heavy chains of excess and that exhausting nonstop pursuit of status. And 4, trust the unseen rhythm of life. Remember, real opportunities usually whisper. They very rarely scream for your attention. Now, why does all this matter? Because the results are literally magnetic. When you stop dragging your heavy expectations around everywhere, people are naturally drawn to your calm, relaxed energy. True opportunities actually find you because you aren't out there forcing the wrong ones to happen. That frantic 3 a.m. panic, it gets replaced by deep, enduring peace. And those incredibly frustrating delays, you'll start to realize they were actually protective setups all along, keeping you from rushing into places you were never meant to be. We've definitely covered a lot of ground today, moving from ancient archery all the way to frantic goat bribes. But it all points to the exact same lesson. The energy you lead with dictates the life you live. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Are you finally ready to stop forcing what isn't yours and just trust the river? Try trading your scarcity energy for trust energy today and just watch how naturally your life begins to flow. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.